So sole verbs are another set of verbs that are going to have a spelling change in the preterite tense. So just like our kar-gar-zar verbs only changed in one place, our yo form, our sole verbs are also going to only change in part of our conjugation. They're not going to change the whole way through. In order for a verb to be a sole verb in the preterite, it needs to meet two criteria. And it has to meet both. It can't just meet one. The first criteria is that it has to be an IR verb. So you cannot do this to ER verbs or AR verbs. The second criteria is that it needs to be a stem changer or a boot verb in the present tense. So a verb like vivir, that's an IR verb but not a stem changer, is not a sole verb. But a verb like pedir, that's an IR verb and a stem changer, would be a sole verb. So if the verb meets both criteria, like pedir, it's an IR verb and it's a present tense stem changer, you're going to make a spelling change in the preterite tense. And you only have two options for how you can do that. You can change E to I, or you can change O to U. And those are your only two choices. These verbs are called sole verbs because they only change in the sole of the boot. So if you look at the boot on the slide, you see a line drawn through it. The sole is what's below the line. So that means that these verbs only change for the usted elenea and the ustedes eos and eas. And they're the same for everybody else. Okay, so if we look at the verb pedir, which means to ask for, the first thing we need to do is check our criteria. So first, is it an IR verb? Yes, it is. Second, does it stem change in the present tense? Yes, it does. It goes from E to I. So now we know that it's a sole verb. So our yo, tu, and nosotros forms are going to stay the same and use our IR preterite tense endings. So for those three forms, we get pedí, pediste, and pedimos. Below the line, or in the sole of the shoe, our E of pedir is going to change to an I. So we get pidió and pidieron. With servir, we have to do the same thing. Check our criteria. It's an IR verb and a stem changing verb in the present tense. So we know it's going to be a sole verb in the preterite tense. So the yo, tu, and nosotros are going to stay the same. The E doesn't change. And we use our regular IR preterite endings. So we get serví, serviste, and servimos. Below the green line, our E is going to change to an I. So we get sirvió and sirvieron. So with repetir, check your criteria. It's an IR verb and it stem changes. But remember that when we have two E's in a verb, like in repetir, it's always the second E that's going to change. So if I were to conjugate this all the way through, I would have to change the second E to an I below the green line, or in the sole of the shoe. So my forms of repetir in the preterite are repetí, repetiste, repitió, repetimos, and repitieron. Okay, so take a few minutes and write down the forms of preferir in your packet. Remember that preferir has two E's, so the second E is going to be the one that changes. When you're done, you can advance the slide and check your answers. So our forms of preferir in the preterite tense would be preferí, preferiste, prefirió, preferimos, and prefirieron. Vestirse is a reflexive verb because it ends in se, but if we look at the verb vestir, it meets our criteria to be a sole verb. It's an IR verb and it stem changes in the present tense. So this we're going to have to do the two different things with. First, we can't just get rid of our se. We need to move it in front and change it to match our person, just like we practiced earlier in the year. And then vestir is going to change just like a regular sole verb would. So our forms for vestirse in the preterite are me vestí, te vestiste, se vistió, nos vestimos, and se vistieron. So follow the example from vestirse, and in your packet, conjugate the verb sentirse in the preterite tense. Don't forget, you can't just get rid of the se, you have to do something with it. When you're done, you can go on and check your answers. So our preterite tense forms of sentirse are me sentí, te sentiste, se sintió, nos sentimos, and se sintieron. So earlier we said that we had two ways we can change a sole verb. One was e to I, which we've just practiced, and the other is o to u. So if we look at dormirse, yes, it's a reflexive verb and we still have to do something with the se, but it also meets our criteria for a sole verb. It ends in IR and it's a stem changing verb in the present tense. So if I were to conjugate dormirse into the preterite, my forms would be me dormí, te dormiste, se durmió, my O changes to a U, nos dormimos, and se durmieron, O to U here as well. Okay, so in your packet, practice conjugating the verb morir into the preterite tense. It's going to change from O to U in the sole of the shoe, just like dormir did. When you're done, check your answers. So our forms of morir in the preterite tense are morí, moriste, murió, morimos, and murieron. So we're also going to have some verbs in Spanish that are going to have a spelling change because when we conjugate them in the preterite tense, they're going to have 3 vowels in a row. So if there are 3 vowels in a row, we're going to change the I to Y. Now this will only happen with ER and IR verbs. And like with our sole verbs, this change is only going to happen in the usted LNA and the ustedes, ellos, and ellas form of the preterite tense. So let's look at 2 examples, oír to hear and leer to read. So if we take off the IR of oír, we're left with a vowel, and that's going to create my 3 vowels in a row. So my forms are going to be oí, oíste, oyó, oímos, and oyeron. So notice that my forms, where there's a circle, my I of my regular endings changed to a Y. The other thing to notice is that I have an accent mark everywhere except for the ustedes, ellos, and ellas form. If we look at the verb leer, when we take off the ER, we have a vowel left. So that's going to create my 3 vowels in a row. So my preterite tense forms of leer are leí, leíste, leyó, leímos, and leyeron. So again, where there's a circle, my I changed to Y. Also, I have my accents here as well.